Hi, welcome to Shelf Starters. Today we're going to be talking about our reading over the course of June, and I'm going to be checking in with Jackie first of all about the books that she selected for me for last month. So I guess firstly, Jackie, you started reading the Taylor Jenkins Reid book, right?
Yes, but I'm only just in the beginning.
Just started. Which one was that? Was that the Seven Husbands or Daisy Jones?
Daisy Jones one.
Cool. Yeah. So you're liking it so far?
Yeah, it's really
yeah,
good.
but just very early. Cool. So the first one you selected for me was also a Taylor Jenkins Reid one. It was the Malibu Rising.
Yeah.
Which was good. It's the one that's about a surfing community sort of in the 80s in Malibu. It's like the children of a famous singer who is actually in Daisy Jones and the Six. So it's like, I think it's Mick. Do you know the character of Mick yet?
Maybe.
I think that's right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's one of their he's like one of his daughters and things. He has like a lot of children with various different mothers and things like that. So it's all these siblings who like come together and sort of help each other, like they raise each other because their parents are absent. He's absent because he's on tour and stuff all the time and isn't really a great father. And then their mother is an alcoholic. So the oldest daughter kind of raises her siblings and things. And it's kind of like, I mean, it sounds really dark, but it's like more of a happy family kind of read on the beach, which is quite nice. But I didn't think it was her best one. I think that the other two that have been recent, the Daisy Jones and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, are much better. I think this one just didn't have much of a plot. And the characters were like, they were fine. They were interesting. They each had all their like own stories, but yeah, beyond that, it was just like, didn't go anywhere really. So I think you've got a good one to start with. I think Daisy Jones is probably better.
Yeah, I thought I loved it. Thought it was very easy and easy to go from story to story. Person.
Yeah.
Character to character.
She's definitely good at the characters. That's definitely a strong point. Anyways, that was the first one. And then the next one was Milk Blood Heat, which is that collection of short stories. Mm-hmm. That was incredible. Really just beautiful writing. Very weird kind of stories. Very moving. A lot of them were like really quite upsetting, but just really, really beautiful. Basically, I don't know what else to say about short stories because you can't really like tell the plot or anything. Like give a summary of the plot.
Can't give it away.
But
I mean, that's the thing. A concise writing is the point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I gave it 5 stars. Like it was perfectly done, perfectly executed.
So what? Can you remember choosing that, Jackie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you? So is that one of the ones you thought you might read? I think.
Yeah. I think I thought
you were talking about how you might be more able to read short stories while working and stuff because it's like you can dip in and out. And yeah, I do think it's worth getting that one because it was really good. So yeah, there's that Sushi for Beginners by Marion Keyes. A little disappointing. I love Marion Keyes, but this didn't work for me at all. I think I didn't really like it, so I wouldn't recommend that you go with that if you're going to start any by her. Because I think her characters were so unlikable. And I'm fine with an unlikable character if that's like the point, but it wasn't the point for this. Like I think you were supposed to still like them even though they were just awful. And it just, it was not great. And it sort of was really long as well. Like Grown Ups was also really long. Like it's like a very large book and it's like a full saga and stuff like that. So this was similar. Oh, it's here.
It was longer than a trip to Byron Bay and back from Sydney.
Yeah. So this is my copy of it. And it looks really small, but the writing is like tiny.
Oh. Yeah.
So it actually was like quite a long story and just kept going and didn't like it was just annoying. It's a great review. It was annoying. So didn't love that. And I don't think it's the best place to start with Marion Keyes, but I still want to read more by her. I have Rachel's Holiday. So we'll give that one a go. But then otherwise I want.
Where does Rachel go for holiday?
I don't know. I just bought it without reading the back. So I actually have no idea. But that's what it's called, Rachel's Holiday.
Where it is. One of those things we all can't have right now. So that'd be interesting.
yeah.
We can live and dream.
But I do wonder, because this is like an older one that she's written, and then the other two that I had read are more recent. So I wonder if it's just that like I prefer her recent writing, and her backlist isn't going to work for me. So we'll try with Rachel's Holiday and see, I guess.
Yes.
Then the next one was The Queen's Gambit, and that was so good. And I read it, and then I immediately that same day started watching the Netflix series, and I think it took me like only 2 days to get through the entire thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. And what was really great about it was having just gone directly from reading the book to watching the show, I could see exactly how it was adapted and what they'd left in and what they'd taken out and things like that. And I thought it was really, really well done. It might be the best adaptation that I've seen in a long time.
Oh, great.
Like really faithful, but yeah, like it's just like they made all the right choices. I thought like the parts that it was very faithful to it, like dialogue almost word for word, exactly the same. And when you have just read it, you can recognize it, and it's really exciting when that's done well.
I know people who've taken up chess after reading that book.
Yeah, I was tempted. Like
it actually makes
and I don't like chess.
I think that you might not have ever thought of doing before, but when you read that book,
it's fun.
Yeah, well, sure is in I mean, it's obviously in the book pivotal.
Yeah, and the girl power, like it just felt. It was just really exciting. I think that she was this woman doing, beating everyone. Just really good for feminism, and in that time period as well. And her clothes were awesome in the show, like
awesome,
very well done.
Oh, they were very 60s, awesome.
Like she starts off in her like drabby orphan clothes, and then gets really into fashion. And I thought that was really cool that she could be this like, she could be stylish and cool without that being who she is. She was also able to be like this intellectual.
Yeah. And it begins with that. I know the opening scene isn't that actually, I think it could be in Paris. Is she in Paris?
Yes.
Paris.
Yeah, the opening scene is when she's hungover and is rushing, throwing her clothes on and rushing to get to the match.
Yes. And they're lovely clothes.
Yeah. And she looks pretty good even though she's a like hungover mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. The costuming was great. She was great. I thought that the only parts that they sort of like changed made a lot of sense. Like things that come to mind is in the book, she never has that moment where she enjoys sex. There's that one scene in the show where she's like, this is what it's supposed to be like. That doesn't happen at all. Like the whole way through, she's just like, this is so average. So she never has that kind of good connection really in the book. And there is also a really controversial, I would say, scene in the orphanage in the book where the friend gets in bed with her, and there's like a bit of non-consensual stuff that happens that they took out of the show, which I thought was probably a good call. I don't think it was needed at all. It help the relationship in the book. It just sort of seemed really random, and I actually it took me out of it because I was like, did I actually read that? Is that really what happened just then? And yeah, it doesn't make sense given that their relationship is pretty strong later on for that to have happened. So I thought that was a good call. So yeah, I really think that adaptation was brilliant, and the book was really good too. So solid choice. And then the last one that Jackie suggested was Scabby Queen. That was the one where there's the famous person she's like a singer, but also like very politically active kind of role model, I guess. And she commits suicide, and her friend finds her in her apartment. And it's heavy going, really cleverly written, because you kind of find out about the character through all of the people she's had contact with and like being close to in the past. So it's all her various relationships. You just hear from random people throughout the story being like, this is what I remember about this person. But she's not a particularly likable person. Again, not a huge amount of plot. It's just making me sound like I really care about plot, which I don't always, but I think when you don't have a strong set of characters to follow, then the plot's missing, it's a problem.
You can't have both not there.
Yeah, like I think, if I'd really gotten into this character of, I think her name was Cleo, it might have been okay, but I never felt very connected to her, even though it was all about everyone else's experiences with her. Did have like very good messages and things about a lot of political issues, and she actually, you find out at the end that she leaves a note and there's a reason why she committed suicide and things like that, and that's like very interesting question to raise and like have the reader think about. But yeah, I guess not a very engaging story, more of like a thought piece. Yeah, but huge range of things that Jackie selected, and yeah, a bit of ups and downs, but I'm glad I read all of them. So thank you for that. Yeah, and let us know how you go with your Daisy Jones.
Yes, I need more.
Cool.
Well, you'll get more soonish. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's let Jackie head off, and then I can talk about the rest of our June reads. Okay, cool. So now we're back to talk about the rest of my reads in June, because there are quite a lot. And June was, of course, Pride Month. So I did have a few Pride reads in there. I guess the first one was Maurice. Do you think it's Maurice or Morris?
I've always said Maurice, but that I don't know if that means that's right.
Yeah,
so,
I said
Maurice.
What
did you think? What did you think, Rosie?
I loved this. What I loved about it, so it's the story of a boy who it starts with him. It's sort of like a coming of age story. It starts with him in school, and yeah, and it was beautifully written. It was really atmospheric. It's like it's quiet and comforting, I thought. So he has these relationships in school, like with friends, and he realizes that he has feelings for them that are beyond friendship, and it just sort of like grows from there. And it's about, there's two main relationships that happen that are actual like romances in the book. But what I absolutely loved about this for the time period is it's not one of those tragic endings where, you know, it doesn't work out for them. It ends in a way that is actually quite happy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to give anything away, obviously, but that was just such a relief, because, you know, you read classics about LGBT experiences and you kind of expect that it's going to be this devastating ending and nothing works out. And this is just such a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Really enjoyed it. Just, yeah, not like hugely plot heavy or anything again, but the characters this time were just lovely, and yeah, you just felt for them, and it was just happy. So it made me feel so good. And I read it in the day.
You loved A Room with a View as well.
I did, and also A Passage to India. But I have to read Howard's End.
They're very, very, very centered in on place, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
this also feels like it's got a lot of place, but the place is, I guess, not exotic at all. Like it's Cambridge.
Yes. Well, it's not exotic for you. It is for me, for example.
Okay, that's true. That's true, I guess. Yeah. It's very typically English, and I think this edition, which is very pretty, like I love it, had a really good little note, I thought. Did I make that up? Yes, at the end, it gives you a bit of a note about homosexuality in the era and like what the effect was of this book. And it was just, really good. So yeah, that was a brilliant start. And then the next thing I don't have with me, because it was a library book and I had to return it, was Rainbow Milk by Paul Mendez. We talked about that briefly when I did my library haul.
Yes.
Yeah, so I finally got it. It was really good. It's about like the Windrush generation in London. Actually, is it in London? It's in the UK anyway. And it's following kind of two main characters, but it really mainly focuses on Jesse, who is from a family that's in the Jehovah's Witness religious community. Mm-hmm. And he is gay and is kicked out of that community because he's gay. And it's about his life trying to deal with that, and he gets into sex work, and then that eventually like links back to the first character that we got, who was like an older family man. And yeah, it was really good. It was hard. That was much harder read, a little bit more tragic, a little tougher to read, but it was really good. And I had heard a lot of people not liking this book, and I'm not sure why. Like, I haven't heard why at all, really. but yeah, I sort of went into it being like,
it's not amongst the popular ones, is it?
No, and I just I'd seen ratings on Goodreads and things that were like really low.
That's right.
And yeah, it just surprised me. I guess, yeah, let me know in the comments if you know why that is, like what, if there is any objection in particular that people had, or maybe it was just like they didn't get on with the writing. I don't know. But I just thought it was really well done. And yeah, a little sad, but good. And the next one was Orlando. Exciting. This was good. It was weird. It was so weird. And I wish I had annotated it, because I remember reading sentences where I was like, wow, this is so ahead of its time. Like just some of the
Very
thoughts.
much so. Yes.
Some of the sentences were just like, there were so many questions about gender.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's about a start off as a woman or a man.
Can't actually remember. I think as a man.
I think it's a man who transforms into a woman.
Yeah.
That's right. So, but like over very like generations as well. So it's like going through times in history.
So typically Woolf, that whole moving, like shifting through time. Time being one of the main motifs often for her, like Mrs. Dalloway, for example. And it is not easy as a reader to work with that. Well, Mrs. Dalloway was way
it's
harder.
One day,
but it shifts back and forward. So the action takes place over a day, but there's a lot of flashing back to
playing with time still.
Before that, yes. So you're back and forward all the time. So because of that shift and because of the stream of consciousness style, the fluidity of it, it can be very hard to follow. And I guess with Orlando, it's
similar.
It is, but a little different in that the fluidity actually brings in gender very specifically, whereas in Mrs. Dalloway, it's more subtle. There's more. It is dealt with. It is the same. The issue is there, and the fluidity, the possibility for fluidity is there, but it's very subtle. Whereas here, it's like an actual trope.
It's definitely not subtle, but it's that I think it can be still challenging to read because it's jumping around. You get a little bit confused because there's like changes in character names and things like that as well that go along with the changes in gender and time. And it's a little hard to follow at times. And the character has various different relationships as well.
Yes.
Over the course of however many years it is.
Wolf, I don't think anyone would say Wolf was an easy read ever.
Definitely not. But what is also interesting, and I don't know if this is in every edition of it, but it has photos.
Oh, I've not seen that before. No, so that's a regular.
Like Virginia Woolf.
Yeah. Okay.
But it puts it as like Orlando at the present time, and it's clearly. It could be Virginia or it could be Vita Sackville West.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but because it's so blurry. But
I've not watched the film. There's a film version of this, isn't there?
I haven't either.
I've not seen the film, but what I have seen is an outstanding stage production.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably good. Yeah. It was actually by the Sydney Theatre Company, and it was wonderful. It really took you through the eras and the characters, and of course costume, lighting, and set.
That would be nice. I think it would be good. It'd be good to actually see it, because this was like you can imagine the description is so detailed. You can kind of imagine it, but I think it would be really nice to actually see it. Like it's very heavy in detail and very limited in dialogue.
Yeah,
which I think also means it's not an easy read for someone who's like new to this style of book.
No, that's right. That's right. I think. Yeah, I doubt anyone.
You can't really skim over the details either. Like they're kind of important to the story. So yeah. So that was Orlando. Glad I read it. I definitely need to read more of Virginia Woolf, because I have like a lot of these editions and I haven't.
You haven't read To the Lighthouse?
I have. I've read To the Lighthouse. I've read Mrs. Dalloway and this and A Room of One's Own. But I haven't read The Waves, The Years, a few others. I think there are that I have in my bookshelf, but I haven't gone to
read A Room of One's Own.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've also read that weird little one about the dog Flush.
Oh, I love that one.
It's really weird.
Dog of Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and it's about her, it's really about her and what was happening to her.
But told through her dog.
Told through the eyes of her dog, her very loyal dog.
Hilarious.
And I mean, I hate.
Exactly, but that's what I like.
Animal perspective at all. As a
Yeah.
I hate that idea, but I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah,
I really did.
I think I have to
it's only
reread
tiny.
it.
It's a tiny, tiny little.
Yeah, little. It's so little. It's published in one of the Penguin little black classics.
Yes, it's tiny weeny.
Whatever they call.
I just thought it was really good. Flush. Yeah.
So definitely got to read more Virginia Woolf, I think, in my future. But yeah. And then this was another massive surprise that I actually adored it.
What is that?
The Well of Loneliness. By Radcliffe Hall. This is the first, I think it is what they call it, the first lesbian novel, a pioneering lesbian novel. And wow, this was brilliant. Again, very ahead of its time, but really tragic. So this, unlike Maurice, is really quite upsetting, and it's so long that you just bond with the characters so much, just like as they go through all of this horrible stuff. But yeah, really interesting. So it's
just the title, Rosie, The Well of Loneliness.
I know, right? And I was like, it can't be that sad, but no, it really can. It really can. And so it starts off as a really interesting premise where her parents are pregnant with her, and the father really wants a boy, and the mother doesn't really mind so much, but the father's like very desperate to have a boy. Anyway, she gets born, and then the father goes, oh well, we're still going to call her Stephen.
Do you know what? I understand the notion of hoping for a particular, agenda, a son or a daughter. I suppose I understand that notion, but I don't understand once you've had the baby at all, because it just is immaterial. When you have the baby, it's absolutely, you love the baby. It really is nothing to do with their gender.
And the father does love his daughter in this. Like he does still bond with her a lot.
Disappointed, Rosie. No, it's just not a concept I can.
If anything, the father's relationship is really important in this. They actually are extremely close, and the father is very supportive and realizes early on that that Stephen is not comfortable in their body, and feels more like a man, and that's what's so. I think it has been criticized quite a bit in this book, because it's called this lesbian novel, but in some ways it's really more of a trans novel, but it doesn't really quite go there. So
no, okay. Yeah. So it kind of, right. Well, when was it published?
I mean, when it was banned. So published in 1928. Semi-autobiographical, and I guess the author identifies as lesbian, I think, and I think it is like, you have to respect that the character thinks of themselves as a lesbian. That's how they're identifying, even though maybe with a modern reading we would say maybe there are some trans elements here, but definitely the character's very she's got this tomboyish attitude. She doesn't want to do any of the feminine things that her mother really expects from her. So she has a really, really strained relationship with her mother because she's unable to be the daughter that her mother wanted. Whereas she gets on really closely with her father because she is stepping in as this son, Stephen, that her father wanted. But her father tries to protect her a lot from that world.
Put on a person, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the father knows, and he doesn't tell her, so she doesn't even realize that she's different because they're in the countryside in England, I think, and they're not, interacting much with other society. So the father realizes this isn't going to work. When she grows up and goes out into the world, she's going to struggle, but he doesn't tell her anything about what it might mean that she has these feelings and that she is this way. And so that is a little bit difficult as well. And then she has these relationships with women, both as a child and then through, you follow her life, like it's a full saga again. And it's so painful, the various women that come in and out, and how they have to deal with the pressures of society at this time. It's upsetting, but there's also some amazing relationships in here. Really great characters, very interesting look at LGBT communities in London. I think I get confused with the place, but I'm pretty sure we're in the UK, and then they moved to London at one point, and that's when she can find more people like her and actually connect with the community. And that was really interesting to read about and kind of exciting and new, I imagine, for this time. But yeah, it's so sad. But yeah, if you want a good read, a good cry,
yeah, that's the one.
This is definitely the one, because I don't think it's not like, torturous. It's not like it's that torture porn, like this is too sad and too much against the LGBT, like showing only the bad sides, I guess, of LGBT experiences. I think it's still got hope in there. I would say it still has really light moments, but just ultimately is quite sad. So yeah, and that was it for the Pride reads, and I'm gonna have to go through the others quite quickly, I think, because there's a lot. I read a lot this month. A lot of these I picked up because I'd read other books by the author, so it's like their new work. The Murder of Graham Cotton by Katie Lowe. She wrote The Furies, which was very good. This one was about a woman whose husband was murdered, and she says that she doesn't remember anything about it. It's like she was there, but she doesn't remember. So it's like, did she do it? Did she not do it? And it was good. Fine. Mrs. England by Stacey Halls. She writes a lot of like historical books set in England. This is about a governess who comes to an old house, and there's something a bit creepy about the mother. And yep, won't say anymore. It was very good. The Maidens by Michaelides. Don't know how to say that. I think that's how it goes. This one was very much like Donna Tartt's Secret History.
Which was great.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's about a group of girls at university who are in this like exclusive club, and their teacher's a little bit creepy. Again, a Greek teacher. It's got that whole Greek thing, and the girls from this club start turning out murdered. So it's about working out who did it.
Rosie, say it again, the name?
The Maidens. That's the name of the club.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like that a lot. Triptych by Karen Slaughter. This is the first one in her Will Trent detective series. It's, she does those really like gruesome crime novels. So I would say a little bit of caution going to anything by Karen Slaughter, because it can be really, really disturbing. Yeah. This one was about
reading that kind of.
You would hate it. You would absolutely hate this. And they're quite they're very easy to get into because it's obviously gripping and stuff. But yeah, I don't have a huge amount to say about it except that it is gruesome. And I'm not sure that I would hugely recommend them. They're just quick reads, I guess. Yeah. And then one that I actually do have here, Death in the Family, by Tessa Weggert. First book I've read by her. It's got that premise that I really love of a murder happens on an island. It can only be someone from the island who did it, that Agatha Christie style, and then there were none kind of thing. So pretty much the same concept. A man goes missing from this family island. It's only their family on the island. And so it's not necessarily a murder case at first. When the detectives go, they think they're just looking for this missing person in a storm, but it becomes pretty clear straight away that it is a murder, and that it must be someone in the family who murdered them. Easy, fine, nothing particularly exciting about that. Then classics, I finished Great Expectations.
Oh, yeah,
always lovely. Really loving Dickens at the moment. I also read Hard Times. Both of these I read on audio, but I also do have the Penguin English Library editions because I just think they're so pretty. But I read it entirely on audio because it lends itself so well to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
this one was pretty funny because it's about a schoolmaster who's very much about like into facts and what is correct and what is not, and it's like it's questioned quite a lot. So yeah,
I remember that feeding them the facts, and I remember it all being described quite mathematically.
Even relationships, so it gets like to the point of like his daughter has a marriage proposal and he's like, let's weigh up the facts. Like, should you accept or not? And it's all like it's analyzed in that level of detail, and loved it. Keen to read more from Dickens. If you have any suggestions about like where to go next with Dickens, would love that.
What about Rosie at Tale of Two Cities?
I've read that.
Oh, okay.
I've read that, and I've read Oliver Twist, but I haven't read like David Copperfield.
Oh, well, that's the epitome, the original.
Yeah. Bleak House, things like that. Let me know in the comments as well if you have any.
Your grandmother loves Bleak House.
Really?
Yeah, loves it. Yep. So that's
well, I mean, that's always trustworthy. So that's good.
Recommender.
Then other classics. Oh, I didn't bring it out, but I do have the actual copy of If Beale Street Could Talk. Modern classic by James Baldwin. That was really good. Really short, but kind of perfectly short, like the right length. There was no wasted space at all. It was just a great story. I really want to see the film now. So have you seen it or read it?
No, neither.
I think the film's pretty recent, but it looked like it had been really well done from the trailer that I watched after I read
it. The one that's coming out, the Nancy Mitford.
Isn't that already out? The Pursuit of Love, you mean?
Yeah, not for us. Hence the end of July.
Oh, okay. You'll like that.
Yeah, I'm wanting to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely watch that. It's good. I thought it was really, really good adaptation. I think that other people did criticize it a little bit, but I think it's a hard one to adapt. So
yes,
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the Iliad. Also, this was part of their read along hosted by Matthew from Maybury Book Club and Steve Donahue.
Yes.
And I liked it. It was fine. I think I sort of the story, but I didn't know exactly which parts of the whole story were included in the Iliad, and so I was waiting a lot for things to happen that don't actually happen in the Iliad.
You may have been thinking of the Odyssey even.
No, I've read the Odyssey, but I think maybe the Aeneid covers some of the
yes, probably
the story that I was waiting for. Like things like the Trojan horse doesn't happen here.
Oh,
yeah, it's like before that. So I don't know. It was good. It's like it's really just a battle. Like so, it's a lot of action-packed battle scenes. A lot of characters to follow. I liked when the like gods were getting involved. I thought that was pretty cool, having the interplay of like the gods and the Trojans and the Greeks. But yeah, it was just I wish I hadn't put these expectations on it, that it would have these scenes that didn't ever eventuate, because it did have the Achilles and is it Patroclus or Patroclus or something else?
I do know.
I can never pronounce that name.
Your second go was probably the correct.
Patroclus?
Yeah, I would think that would be closer, but
yeah,
I don't.
It did have that, and that was that relationship, and that was really interesting to see, and especially like Achilles' rage that comes out when he's killed is like that was a really brilliant scene. So some really great moments, but I preferred the Odyssey for sure.
Yeah, well, I think that you would not be alone, but yes,
it's more my kind of thing anyway. And then some Shakespeare's in the classics. So Richard II and Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra is hands down the winner.
Oh, totally. You can't go past it. The language.
And I saw this performed in London before COVID, and
brilliant.
I absolutely adored it. And it's still one of my favorite. It might even be my favorite Shakespeare. I change my mind very often.
It really is beautiful. The language is superb. Because of course it's the richness, because he wants to evoke Cleopatra and all.
And she's so cool as a character as well. Like it's just
such a strong together woman.
Strong, but also like whiny in parts as well, which is like quite funny.
That Rosie, she kind of, it's part of her manipulative skills.
Oh, very manipulative. Yeah. No, I loved it. I think it might be my favorite.
mean-
So, and I'm really enjoying reading these alongside the audio collection and just like, getting the full thing.
Yes. Well,
that's been really
again, written to be performed.
so I'm still not seeing it visually, but I'm hearing it and I'm reading it, and I feel like that's quite a good compromise.
But you can see it in your mind with those descriptions
Mhm.
of the purple sails and the, you can't not see that. The imagery
Yeah.
is massive. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
it's years since I've read it, but I can still remember.
Oh yeah, and I did see it. I did see
That
this one on
tide
stage.
coming in, that was beautiful. And
So I'm continuing my Shakespeare reads. I'm planning to read them all, and ordering them in these nice editions because I think it's quite good having them in a little collection. So I'll keep that for life. So yeah, I'll let you know how that
lovely.
goes on. Next section that I have is literary fiction, or like, I guess just fiction that doesn't fit into any of these genres more than anything. This was a weird one, but good. Split Tooth by Tanya Tagak. It is about the Canadian Indigenous community, and it's magical realism. It's a little bit weird, spiritual, I think.
Yes.
So yes, you might. Well, I think you would like it actually.
No, but I
it's very nice.
always say I don't think I like magical realism, and then I secretly actually do. So
I think you would. And what's weird, like kind of fun about this one is it's got a whole heap of different text types in it. So it's got pictures, it's got poetry, it's got prose. Nice. It's like, so you have like poem on this side, and then you'll go back to the prose here, and then where's the picture?
Oh yeah.
So it's got a bit of everything, but it flows really nicely. So it's not like disjointed in a way that you would kind of expect with those different excerpts and things happening there. But it's about a girl who becomes pregnant very young, and she's hiding who the father is. But then her children take on this like spiritual thing, and they become more than just children. So, very creepy, very interesting, kind of magical. I enjoyed that. And then, one that I returned to a friend, she lent it to me, was Please Read This Leaflet Carefully by Karen Haviland. Probably not saying that right either. This was interesting, sad, but very important. I think it's about a woman who suffers from chronic pain. She has endometriosis, but I think it's like really chronic. And it's
one dreadful illness. It really is.
Oh yeah, and it's just like her life. Like it's that is the plot. Like that is it. You just see her relationships. You see how it affects her life. You see
every
how debilitating it is.
Yeah.
And it goes back in time, so it starts with like her dealing with it now, and then it's like how it's affected her since she was like a child, and the I guess the compromises she's had to make, the sacrifices really more than anything, because of this illness and what it's prevented her from doing. So
affected her as a child? I'm very interested in that.
Well, I'm not sure if it was exactly endometriosis that was the fact. Like it's just this chronic illness and all this pain. Well, chronic pain is what it is.
As a child also.
Yeah. And she was having to have like so many doctor's appointments and surgery and things like that from being a child. So but like I think endometriosis is only part of it.
Yeah, okay.
But the whole point is kind of that they don't have a cure, so they don't really know exactly what's causing her this chronic pain. She's just always in pain.
Always in it.
That's
so awful. And
it's really hard with her relationship. It's really hard with her. So at the very beginning, you know that because it starts with her current day, you know that she has a daughter. And it's really hard with that relationship too, because certain like things set off pain reactions, so she has to be really careful when she touches her and things like that, which is just horrific. So that was a bit dark, but I think important because chronic pain is something I've never actually really read about.
No. Well, it's extremely hard to describe pain, and extremely hard as a reader to actually really truly empathize, because how do you measure pain?
Well, I think hard as
How
a
do you know?
person to empathize, like that's the thing is,
Yeah.
I know people who have chronic pain. I've experienced it in life,
Measure it.
where you just don't really understand why it's like what it is
No.
and why
No.
how bad it is. But I think it's great that we have books like this, because I've never seen it in fiction before.
No, to try and express
To
it.
try to understand it, yeah, because I think this is the closest I've come to kind of understanding,
Yeah.
just from reading this. So I think it's worthwhile.
Yep, that is worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was short as well, but like very impactful, I thought. So yeah, that was good. And then a more positive one, Fault Lines by Emily Atami. This was recommended to me by the bookseller at the book bar.
Yes.
So of course I bought it. It had come out on that day. So she just had it in. And it's a, like, I guess it's described a lot as like normal people, which everything's described as normal people. So I kind of hate that. But it's set in Japan. So it's a woman in Japan who is she's not happy in her relationship with her husband. She has 2 children. She feels like he's never there. He's a workaholic. It's part of that culture of working really, really hard and supporting your family. But that means that she feels very unsatisfied, and she doesn't feel like she's supported, and is working really hard as a mum, but at the same time isn't feeling like she's working as a woman. And she had all this career ahead of her and things like that she's given up to have kids. And she has this affair in the book. So it's about that relationship, about her relationship with her children, how it affects her marriage. And it's funny. It's easy to read. You feel for her. She feels like a really real person. And you understand her decisions as well quite easily. So, and I thought it was cool that it was like, I've read a lot of those kind of books about relationships and people not feeling totally happy, that kind of modern romance thing. But having one set in Japan was really cool.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that was good. And then I read from the library A Gentleman in Moscow, which was really surprisingly good. I thought it might be a little bit dry because it's historical fiction. And I was like, I don't know if I feel in the mood for it. And it's really long. But it's about like after the Russian Revolution, this man being under house arrest in a hotel, and like from the old nobility. And it's just like so uplifting and beautiful, like the relationships that he has with the workers in the hotel, with a couple of the guests who go on to be like very important relationships in his life. It's just so sweet. It's like the sweetest book that I think I've read in a really long time, where you just like, you want to hug him. It's like, he's such a great character. And it's gentle. It's just a really like relaxing, nice, comforting read. So I really recommend that one, even though I've been putting off for years, because it's all been all over everywhere. In all the media, all reviews, like it was so big when it came out, whenever it did come out. But I was just like, I don't know if I'm that interested. And I can't believe I didn't read it sooner, because I just thought it was really, really beautiful. And then I DNF'd 2 books this month, which is really rare for me. So I didn't finish The Lion Life of Adults.
Okay. That's great.
I hated it.
Rosie, it's a very rare thing.
I know. I was like, you know what? I didn't have to talk to myself. Which I hardly have, but I normally just make it through. Lion Life of Adults, I really didn't like. And this is, we've been talking about Elena Ferrante before, and how her writing can be quite challenging, because there is like an anger to it.
Yeah.
But I think it worked personally in My Brilliant Friend, and that series. Like, I really loved that series despite it being so harsh.
Yeah.
But I hated it in Lion Life for Adults. It was just, it just was so brutal. I just hated the characters. They were awful people. It was just, there was nothing positive. Yeah. And like, I don't know, it feels like I'm being one of those, what do you call it? I'm being too soft, being like, it was too harsh for me.
Yeah.
But it was just like awful. It was just awful. So
Well, it raises
yeah.
a question, doesn't it? I mean, reading the line between the pleasure of reading and whether, it is, you want some sort of nourishment, or
Yeah.
whether it is meant to provoke and push you into areas that aren't necessarily comfortable.
And I didn't think it was challenging in any sense that was worthwhile, and I think that might have been the problem, because it was just parents being awful to their child, the child being awful back to her parents, and then other awful influences in the child's life as well. And it was just everyone was being awful to everyone. It just had no like hopeful parts of humanity at all.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be bothered to continue. So I gave that one back to the library.
Right. Yes.
And then the other one that I thought was also ridiculous was Fake Accounts by Lauren someone. I'll put the name below. But it was like, the concept was cool. It was just a relationship, a man and a woman, and the woman discovers that her man has this secret online life that he's been hiding from her, where he is a conspiracy theorist. So he's got all these channels inciting conspiracies and crazies on the internet, basically, which I thought would be really cool, except the writing style didn't work for me at all. It was all over the place. It was just I guess it was kind of stream of consciousness, but it was just so obviously trying to be clever, that I hated it. So I gave it back to the library. I did not bother with it anymore. So yeah, and that's all I read in June. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of them.
That's a very hefty list, Rosie. Very, very.
Yeah, I read quite a lot. But yeah, obviously, mostly it was good. It's kind of sad to end on that note of ones I could not stand. But I would be really interested if anyone has actually read those two that I didn't read, and if they have anything else to say about them, because obviously I didn't finish. Possible they have redeeming features later on, but I had no patience to find out. So let me know if you have any other thoughts about it. Let us know what you've been reading as well, and if there's any that stand out that we should check out. What are you currently reading, Mum?
Actually, I am dabbling in. I've just started a little bit of Austen, Sandishan, one I've not read before. So
the Jane Austen July.
Yes, literally just opening the pages of that because I got it yesterday. And I have been audio book for Oscar and Lucinda. I've been listening to while running in lockdown, and great Audible, beautifully read, and just such strong description, of setting and of character, and some just hilarious, he's talking about a woman who looks like her laces are too tight, as in her corset. And then he says, actually, the laces must be in her face. That's the thing that's so tight. It's so and just very funny at times, and also very recognizable because it's set in Sydney. So there, and New South Wales, basically. But it's talking about the silver slick of the Sydney Harbour, and it's some lovely stuff. Lovely. So I've been spoiling myself with that, actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I am on audio listening to a Agatha Christie, The Man in the Brown Suit. I only just started it, so I don't know.
What a title.
I know, yeah. It's not one of the Poirot or Miss Marple books. It's one of a standalone one, I think. But yeah, it's fun. I liked listening to her ones on audio because it's fast paced, gripping, easy. Pretty good to listen to. Also because I have the full Agatha Christie collection in Australia, so I don't want to buy a physical copy here. So audio is a good way of actually reading them. And then the other thing I started last night, which I'm so excited about, is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig.
Oh, yes.
And look how pretty it is.
I'm old of that. I wonder if it's available here. Probably not.
It just came out. So I would say it's had a really big, it's been all over the media here. So I imagine it probably is pretty big in Australia too. I have to show you the inside because it's also really pretty on the inside.
Oh, lovely. Yep.
And
Yeah, I've got to see if I can get that.
I would say it's so far resonating with me a little less than his other two nonfictions, which were Notes on a Nervous Planet and Reasons to Stay Alive. I think because it's a little bit more disjointed, it's a little bit less, like there's still his personal experiences in there, but it's just really honestly what it says on the cover. It's a book that just has some random snippets of things that might be comforting. So it's, some of it's like philosophical, like this is what you should think about life, like here's a positive spin on life kind of thing. Some of it's some of his personal things. Some of it's like recipes. Or like this page I opened up to, and I had to send a screenshot to a photo of it to my friend because I thought it was hilarious for both of us. This page. Yeah, I thought that was great. Things like that. So it's like, it's really random, but I like it. And I think it's not one that you want to rush through either. I think it's you pick it up and just read a bit when you're feeling like it. And it's kind of like almost like a coffee table book, I would say. So you can get snippets of that.
Totally how it sounds to me.
Yeah. And he's got a playlist as well on Spotify that you can listen to while you're reading it. That's like uplifting music. Things just to make you feel better. He wrote it obviously during the pandemic. And it's, yeah, things to take comfort in.
Sounds
in
great.
difficult times.
I must get home.
Yeah.
And I will.
Yeah,
Marvelous.
so that's been really good.
Some good stuff there.
Yeah, all right. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Let us know what you've been reading. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you next time. See ya.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.